On today's episode of the Mark Titus Show, March is here, and I'm not even sure you need a calendar to know it. I think you just need a television. I think you turn on your television right now, you will see March everywhere you look, especially in Knoxville, Tennessee. Jemai Meshack at the buzzer to beat Alabama. Tennessee goes on a 7-0 run in the final 30-ish seconds of this game. Alabama did lose the game, but there is good news. They get to take their 2 timeouts with them to Tuscaloosa after the 5-second call as Alabama's taking the ball underneath their own bucket, right? That was under their own basket. They get a 5-second call. Tennessee goes the length of the floor, hits the I guess not the length of the floor because that was a deep three, but you know what I'm saying. Jemai Meshack at the buzzer. Rick Barnes called timeout. As you noticed live, you texted me right away. You're like, I think Rick Barnes is trying to call timeout.
I can't wait to talk about this game. A coaching masterclass by Nate Oates, but also Rick Barnes wanted that timeout.
Rick Barnes wanted the time. It was very, very funny, Indy. But Tennessee gets a massive win. Obviously, Alabama squanders their chance at winning a share of the SEC championship. Regular season, obviously, is what we're talking about here. Your SEC champion outright will be, and in fact is, the Auburn Tigers after they go on the road in Lexington. Miles Kelly hits 9 threes. Auburn's offense looks completely unstoppable right now. Kentucky was playing on the back foot the entire game. Kentucky's banged up. They've had their issues as of late, but I don't think it would have mattered. Auburn is absolutely rolling. Jedi Broome didn't even play well. Jedi Broome was not good in this game, and Auburn never really sweat. Never really sweat at all. I have no idea what happened for most of the second half because the game just completely cut off, which I want to talk about as well. That was crazy. The game just shuts off, and ESPN was like, yeah, all right, I guess that's
on to
it.
The next.
I guess we're just on to the next. I guess the number one team in the country is clinching the SEC, and we just here's some hockey for you. I should just watch this instead. Elsewhere in the SEC, Vanderbilt, huge win over Missouri. Missouri doesn't foul up 3. Vandy forces overtime. Vandy wins in overtime. Some more Memorial magic going on in Nashville for Vanderbilt. Iowa State might be back. Iowa State's been reeling a little bit, dealing with injuries, dealing with sickness. Gets a massive win over Arizona, blows out Arizona in front of Tyrese Halliburton and George Niang. Other Big 12 stuff. Texas Tech beats Kansas. Kansas is going through it, we'll say.
They're spiraling.
Kansas is spiraling a little bit, which they were already spiraling this season, and they're back to spiraling even more. And then the Big Ten, Michigan State has one hand on the trophy, Tate. Big win over Wisconsin. Michigan State's rolling, but more importantly for the Michigan State part of things, Michigan, the rival, the not only the rival, but the team that was right there, was neck and neck with them for the Big Ten championships. With the big game coming, the final game of the season will be Michigan going to East Lansing for the rematch after Michigan State already beat them in Ann Arbor. It was looking like that game might just decide the Big Ten, and it still could. Michigan could still win a share of it, but Michigan, a team that has felt a little, I don't want to say fraudulent because they are winning the games, but boy, they're skating by the skin of their teeth. Finally, at long last, a team comes along. I mean, Michigan State did it not too long ago in Ann Arbor, but Illinois scores 60-something points. 62 in the second half. Blows Michigan out on their home floor, and suddenly the Big Ten race, which has been compelling down the stretch, and again, there's still work to be done by the Spartans, but suddenly there's a little breathing room for Michigan State with the big rematch looming against Michigan. Duke blows out Florida State. I don't know, man. There's a lot going on this weekend, but Tennessee, Jemai Meshack hitting the shot at the buzzer was incredible. And I think I want to open with that. But March is here. It's the best time of year. I'm so excited to talk about it all. Let's get into it. All right, a little housekeeping before we dive into the games. Number one, we're playing a road game. For those of you watching on YouTube, we had technical difficulties in our studio. Bad time to have technical difficulties. Yeah. Really bad time.
March. First March show.
So we're in the PMT studio right now recording this, and I just want it on record that this is a road game. The schedule makers did us no favors. We thought if we get through January and February, when March gets here, it's a favorable schedule. The schedule opens up, and they said, just kidding, you got to go on the road to open March. So we are on the road. We're in the PMT studio. But also I wanted to say, because we obviously have a new audience this time of year. A lot of people, don't care about. I understand. They don't care about college basketball. The March rolls around. Let's dive into college basketball content. So a lot of new audience. I wanted to do some housekeeping out of the top. The plan for March, and I guess we haven't really gone over this, Cody. So we need to go over this. My plan for March is we're going to do normal shows this week. We're going to do this show, obviously, Monday morning. We're recording. We'll record a show Thursday morning this week. Next week we will do Monday morning like usual. In response to the end of the regular season, we will have a Big Ten champion crowned by then. We will have an ACC champion crowned by then. But Duke's up one game with 2 to play. They're going to win it, but at the same time, as much as Duke is, way better than everybody else in the ACC, and that's been the narrative, is that it's Duke is in a dog shit conference, and they are. Don't get me wrong. It is interesting that the ACC is still technically up for grabs right now.
And going to Chapel Hill.
It's still going to Chapel Hill. So anyway, we'll do a normal show Monday morning. Thursday, I'm on the fence because a lot is gonna be determined by what the conference tournament brackets look like. We're gonna do a show Thursday. It's just whether it's gonna be a normal show Thursday morning, or there might be a chance if Ohio State is fighting for the NCAA tournament life, we do like a live stream here and then a live reaction after the game. So Thursday is kind of a flex, so to speak. Sunday, the Sunday following the conference tournament is obviously Selection Sunday. We're gonna be doing a bracket show, I assume. On the live stream with I'm talking like outside of the Mark Titus show channels. I think we're doing like a bar stool, like on the main stream. I think we're gonna do something during the bracket reveal. But then on this show, we will go live Sunday after the brackets release. We're gonna do a live show where we fill out our brackets.
Sort it out. Yep.
We're gonna do all that on Selection Sunday, and then starting on Thursday. Of the NCAA tournament, that opening day, the real day, not the playing games, which again might get interesting.
Could be flexed if the Buckeyes.
Could be flexed if the Buckeyes are in the play-in. We might flex those and do some live stuff. But starting on Thursday of the NCAA tournament, from that day on, anytime there's basketball on your screen, we will be doing a live show that night, if that makes sense.
Yep. Thursday,
Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Saturday, Final Four. Monday, National Championship. That's going to be the schedule. So I just wanted to get that out there and say, it's for those of you that have been following the show all year, we've been, kind of consistent with the Monday, Thursday cadence. Sometimes holidays, sometimes technical difficulties or whatever. Shake that up. But that is going to be the schedule for March for the NCAA tournament. And we might flex if Ohio State goes to the NIT, we're not flexing that. So just to be clear, if the Buckeyes are playing in the NIT, do not expect us to to flex. Or if we're playing in the fucking what's the new Fox
CBI?
one? No, the new Fox one is like the Players Crown. Like they're paying all the players.
The college basketball crown.
Yeah,
college basketball
they're
crown.
Playing in
16
Vegas,
teams.
and it's like. It's like semi-intriguing, but it's also not. It's one of those things that if they were to play this in like June, I'd be really into it because it'd be like it'd be well after the season's over, and I've had a little bit of time to exhale, and I'd say to myself, I could use some college basketball right now, and then if they played it in June, I'd be all about it.
Oh, that'd be great.
But they're gonna play it alongside the NCAA tournament.
I love how you can earn a auto bid. Each power conference gets 2 auto bids.
You can earn an auto bid?
Yeah, it's like, well, that means you didn't make the tournament. But the Big Ten, 2 automatic qualifiers to the college basketball crown.
Oh, how about that? So all this Buckeye flex talk is obviously just as long as Ohio State is, we're on the bubble, obviously. So if we are in the mix for the NCAA tournament, I realize there are a lot of perverts and sickos out there that want to watch me cry on live stream. So I'm going to provide that for you if Ohio State is put in a position to do that. Otherwise, that is going to be the schedule. All right, let's dive into it. It's 2025 and it's basketball season, and Rhoback is back. By now, you know how much we love Rhoback, but what we really love is all of their new releases. Rhoback recently released their new men's huddle hoodie. It's different than their Hezzy hoodie, which you all have gotten to know, and it is awesome. The fabric has a really comfortable cotton poly blend, so it's both warm and has a nice stretch to it. I've been rocking it basically every day. I've said this before, and it's true. The second it comes out of the dryer, after I've washed it, I throw it back on, and then it goes right back in the hamper. It's one of those garments. It's one of those garments I have. It doesn't spend a lot of time in the closet. I'm wearing it constantly. Second, the Rhoback Sprint joggers are my new favorite joggers. They're so easy to move in. You can rock them for a quick game of pickup or while you're just hanging around. They're lightweight, have the perfect amount of stretch while keeping a soft feel. So use code Titus on Rhoback.com for a generous 20% off your first purchase through the end of this week. RHOBACK.com, 20% off all hoodies, joggers, and more with code Titus. This weekend, a lot of great games, a lot of great moments. None bigger than Jemai Meshack at the buzzer in Knoxville. A game that felt like it was not getting out of hand, but it felt like Alabama got rolling there in the second half. And this is obviously a offense versus defense game. Alabama is great offensively, even though they've had their shooting problems throughout the season, but it ebbs and flows. I mean, against Mississippi State, they hit, 22 threes, literally?
22.
They hit 22 threes not too long ago in a game. So, yeah, even though Alabama, over the totality of the season, has not been a quote-unquote great shooting team, it's still there, and you're still – you don't want to get comfortable – guarding Bama and giving them open shots. Obviously, you want to still guard them. So going into the game, this was a defense versus offense game. Tennessee has the great defense. Alabama has the great offense. If there are questions with either one of these teams, it would be the opposite end of the floor for both of them. That Tennessee's offense is not bad, but it can get clunky at times. They can throw up a lot of bricks at times. Alabama's defense isn't exactly elite. So yeah, as the second half started wearing on, Alabama. In the battle of Alabama offense versus Tennessee defense, Alabama was winning. Alabama
Correct.
was getting open shots. Alabama was hitting open shots. Again, it did not feel like a blowout was imminent, but it felt like Alabama had kind of solved the puzzle, and that's where this game was headed. And then the last minute happened, basically. And then the last minute happened. I mean, Alabama was that. Like, I think Alabama saw what everyone else saw and was like, "Oh, we're just gonna win this game." Let their foot off the gas. Not a historic collapse. This isn't. You'll see worse collapses in college basketball. That's the joy of this sport, is that they are, they're not as amateur as they used to be. They're not as young of players as they used to be. But at the end of the day, you're still dealing with a very erratic basketball players. And as the stakes get raised and the pressure gets turned up, these moments do happen. Way worse than what we saw in Knoxville, but pretty bad. But that was still pretty bad.
Yeah, this was I hate to do this all the time, but this was did Tennessee win this game or did Alabama lose this game? I don't think you can say it in any other way than unequivocally Alabama pissed down their leg at the end of this game. I mean, Nate Oates I can't imagine going into the locker room afterwards after taking a 5-second call and giving away the game with 2 timeouts in your pocket.
2 timeouts. 2 timeouts left.
2. That's like a high school coach does that, and they go home and there's a for sale sign in their yard. And he's getting paid millions.
How? So is it? It's on Nate Oates. Nate Oates did not call timeout, but also like the player.
He can do it too.
You can do
People
it too,
forget.
obviously. Yeah, and you got to have a sense of. You just can't let that happen. If it gets to 4, there should be. Most teams should have a coach on the bench that's counting, and they'll have like an assistant. I'm almost defending Nate Oates because I think there should be an assistant on the bench.
You thought this was below his pay grade?
Yeah, this is like below his pay grade. That there should be an assistant counting 1, 2, 3, and once it gets to 4, when you know you have 2 timeouts left and you're in that situation. It's not true all the time. You don't want to call timeout when it hits 4 every single time. Sometimes the smart move might be to take the 5-second call. Not in this instance, but
right.
Like there are certain circumstances where you don't want to burn the timeout, whatever. In this instance, obviously you burn the timeout. There should have been a coach. Probably should have been Nate Oates that called it. They don't call it, but more importantly, I get Tennessee can't hit threes. Like that's kind of the MO with them, which is kind of overblown, by the way. Like they have guys that are capable shooters. It's not like the entire team is. They aren't Michigan State out there, who, by the way, you don't want to leave every single person on Michigan State wide open either. But I get that Tennessee is not exactly gonna light it up from the 3-point line, but you have to guard. You have to guard better than that on the final possession.
That was a half
just wide open.
Yep,
just dribbled unabated, wide open. Now,
what do you think the reason was?
Was it that Bama heard Rick Barnes yell timeout 5 different times on the final possession? I don't know.
I was locked in at the end of this game because I was really excited to see what each coach had drawn up. Like, what's Nate Oates got for me here? And then when Tennessee got the ball back, I was saying, listen, they're going to make a play to throw this to half court. He has a timeout left. Would you rather have 3 seconds dribbling down the court, or are you someone that wants the ball with 2.7 seconds, but now you get to run a set from the side? I thought he was going to do that. They inbound the ball. He's trying to do it. He's trying to do it. They shoot the ball. If you keep watching Rick Barnes, he starts bitching at the ref.
Yeah, the second the ball goes in, he throws his arms up at the ref like, why didn't I get my timeout?
I think he still wants the timeout.
He still wants the timeout right now.
Listeners, I'm not even joking. Watch it back. You can see the shot go in the hoop, and Rick Barnes says, I was calling timeout.
Yeah, I was calling. Where's my timeout? I still wanted to get the timeout because listen. It was nice winning the game, but I would rather have won drawing up the play that I drew. I felt like that was
what
we won. And to be completely honest, like I don't think he wanted Jemai Meshack taking the final shot in this game. Now he hit the shot, and Jemai Meshack, who's not exactly an offensive, powerhouse, not exactly a scoring machine, we'll say. He's still like he's been shooting the ball not terribly as of late. Now, like in that situation, it is sort of it wasn't quite a heave, but it is a little different than the regular flow of the game and all that. But Jemai Meshack's been shooting pretty well as of late, but still, you want Chaz Lanier or Zakai Ziegler taking 100%. That shot, and yet Meshack,
I think that's why he was like all jokes aside. That's why he was calling.
Because Meshack had the ball, and he was like, I don't want Meshack.
Like this is not our best. But also Alabama kind of sat there. I'm just questioning. End of game situation. You take the 5 second call, and then you basically said Tennessee, like, get whatever shot you want there. Yeah. With 3 seconds left, how are you not up in someone, making them take like a contested?
I don't know.
Shot?
Yeah, they were scared to foul. They were. I don't know, or they just trusted that Tennessee. There's no way Tennessee's going to make this shot. Which Tennessee has. I think Tennessee, the reputation of their offense, and maybe I'm the one causing the problems. I say this from time to time. If you catch Tennessee on the wrong night, yeah, it is true. Their offense looks abysmal, and it is just a complete rock fight and disgusting basketball to watch. And even if they win, you still turn off the TV and you're like, that I can't trust this team. I don't ever want to watch this team again. I know they won the game, but yuck, that was disgusting basketball. Even though that's kind of their reputation right now, they're not as bad shooting as you might think. Like what they shoot in this game from the 3-point. Like they have capable shooters.
They were 8 of 21.
Chaz Lanier and Zakai Ziegler are 40%. Both guys you have to guard. Like they're going to hit every shot they throw up there. And like I said, Meshack's been shooting the ball well. He's not known as a shooter, but he's been very selective with his shots as of late. Like he shoots like 1 or 2 threes a game, and it feels like he's shooting like 40% probably. I don't know. I didn't crunch the numbers, but he's been hitting shots lately.
Yeah. Does this change your opinion on Tennessee a little bit? Because as we've kind of gotten down the stretch here, you've been of the opinion that if they can't play the Tennessee brand of basketball, like they almost got Auburn in a 53-51 game.
Yeah.
But if they can't win the battle of style, they can't win. They just played Alabama at Alabama's style.
Right.
And won.
Yeah, it does. It helps. It does help that Tennessee scored 80 points, almost 79. But they were pushed outside their comfort zone. This was a game that I do feel like was played on Alabama's terms a little bit, and Tennessee still won the game. Yeah, this helps. Yeah, because I think the concerns with Tennessee is not that they're not good. They're obviously very, very good. I don't put a lot of stock, by the way, and maybe this is a flaw of mine, but it's also probably speaks to the fact that I've seen Tony Bennett and Scott Drew and Dan Hurley all break through recently and win national championships. And Matt Painter, didn't win the national championship last year, but he got to the national championship game. I don't put a ton of stock into the don't trust this guy in March type stuff.
Okay.
Which is what everybody's going to do with Tennessee and Rick Barnes. It's they went to the Elite Eight last year and would have made the Final Four if they had a different draw, if they didn't have to play Purdue. If they did, and even though they did play Purdue, they still almost went to the Final Four. And there's still, I still sense that as the bracket is revealed, and the talking heads who follow college basketball, and maybe some that don't, maybe some of the people that are like, maybe Pat McAfee's filling out his bracket, and he puts Tennessee to the Final Four, or whatever. Anybody that puts Tennessee in the Final Four, you're going to get just an avalanche of people that are like, you fucking bozo. Why would you trust Rick Barnes in March? And I get it in that, like, if that's what your belief is, it gets reinforced every tournament because he doesn't make the Final Four, even though he has made a Final Four in his career. But you could have said that about Tony Bennett before he won the national championship. You could have said that about Scott Drew before he won the national championship. Dan Hurley has made 2 Sweet 16s in his career, and he won the national championship both times. Matt Painter was the same way last year, and then he's, he wasn't particularly close against UConn, but like he's playing a national championship game. So at some point, these narratives do erode. So like I just wanted to I wanted to say that to say like any concerns I have about Tennessee have to do with this team. It's not about like Rick Barnes and March. Now I will say, having said that, there are like similar vibes to this team that there have been to some Barnes teams in the past. And yeah, I guess you could look back on like how things go wrong for Tennessee in the in-state tournament and question, because I've made that point with Tony Bennett in Virginia before that like I think the biggest reason they broke through beyond having finally like NBA studs, NBA caliber, like they have Kyle Guy's not in the league right now, but Kyle Guy played in the league for a half second. Ty Jerome, DeAndre Hunter, who are lighting it up for the Cavs right now. They finally got, and I know they've had NBA. I know Joe Alexander was there, Malcolm Brogdon was there, but when your entire team was being run through like these 3 NBA caliber guys, you could say that was the biggest difference. But for those who watch Virginia year to year to year to year, that 2019 team was different. There were tweaks made with their style, right? So like you did look back on their runs that came up short, and you said, why is this happening? They tweaked some stuff, and then they fixed it, and they won a national championship. So anyway, all of that is to say, Tennessee does feel similar to some of the Rick Barnes teams that have fucked up in the tournament, where they go 3 for 26 from the 3-point line. They score 46 points.
That seems like how this team would make their exit.
It feels like that's how this team will make their exit, but I am slowly talking myself back into them. Even though what was it, like a month ago I said I'm done with Tennessee. Not like I'm not done with them in that they're bad. I'm done with them in that like they
can't
win
me, 6 in a row. That was your thing.
Yeah, they're a finished product to me. Like it's like I don't need to watch Tennessee play anymore because I know what they are. Let's just get to the tournament. Let's just see if the bracket's going to break open for them or not. This goes a long way in changing my view on them because that has been the concern is like they can win under their terms. Can they win when they're playing another elite team? And I think Alabama is not obviously Auburn, a Duke, like they're not the upper echelon, but Alabama's still in the running for a 1 seed. Alabama has to be considered an elite team. And Tennessee played an elite team. They played an elite team on the other team's terms, and they won the game. And that's impressive.
And I think that you say Alabama's still alive for the 1 seed. I think this goes a long way. Tennessee is very much alive for a 1 seed right now. So right now they played their way into the SEC does the double bye. So right now they would have the double bye.
Yeah.
And they finish out with Mississippi and South Carolina. In
win both games.
an SEC like this, when you're talking about, Alabama finishes with Florida and at Auburn. So my point is that Tennessee is about to go into the SEC tournament, and my opinion is that they're going to have a lot to play for. Auburn might not have a lot to play for in an SEC tournament. Tennessee's one of those teams, if they get the 2-3 seed in the SEC tournament, they can make a run if they say we want to be a number 1 seed. This went a long way towards that.
Auburn could lose 100-0 every game from here on out, and they'll still be a 1 seed, probably the number 1 overall seed.
Do you think that matters?
So what do you mean? Like, does the number 1 overall seed matter?
No. Does the fact that when we get to the SEC tournament, Auburn won't have something to play for, but there will be 2 or 3 teams that are going to say, hey, if we can win this tournament, we can be a number 1 seed.
Yeah.
I don't think Auburn wins the SEC tournament.
What's interesting, and I haven't spent a lot of time actually fleshing this out, and maybe I should. The 2 seed. So if you fall if you're one of the SEC teams in contention for the 1 seed, and you fall to the 2 line though, if you're scared of Auburn, if you're of the belief that Auburn is by far the best team in the country, I'm not. I think Duke and Auburn are right there, and I would want to. If it was me, I would want to avoid Duke just as much as I want to avoid Auburn.
Interesting.
But if you're an SEC team and you're like Auburn is really. What I'm saying is the SEC team that falls to the 2 line will avoid Auburn because they're in the same conference. Houston's going to be a 1 seed. Let me think this through. Houston, Duke, and Auburn are all 1 seeds, right? And then the last 1 seed is probably going to be an SEC team. It's probably going to be Florida,
Tennessee,
Bama,
Alabama.
It's probably going to be Florida, Tennessee, or Bama, right?
Probably.
Maybe there's a world of Florida, Tennessee, and Bama. I should have looked at this better. Is there a world where Michigan State can sneak
I was
going to
say the one team that is
there
rolling
a world where
right
Michigan
now.
State could sneak into the 1 if they run the table from here?
That would be disappointing, right?
Yeah.
Like that would be disappointing.
What do you mean?
Michigan State is not
Michigan
on the same planet as those 3. But yes, the world is. Let me pull up Michigan State right now. Go ahead.
What I'm trying to say is the way the bracket works is they don't put they try to avoid conference matchups. They try to avoid if Auburn is the 1 seed. If there's an SEC team that's a 1 seed, or in this case there's probably going to be 2. Let's work under the assumption it's going to be Auburn and Tennessee. Those are the 2 1 seeds out of the SEC. Then your Bamas and your Floridas are going to be in the Duke and Houston regions, right?
Right.
So
So you'd rather be a 2 in a Michigan State bracket?
I guess I don't have a conclusion to this thought yet. I'm just like saying these are things to think about. Like, would you rather be the 2 in the Michigan State? Would you rather sacrifice the 1? Then I don't know. I don't know. This is the stuff that goes into it. It's like maybe there's a world where a 2 seed isn't the worst thing in the world, but then if you're a 1. But if you're a 1 in the SEC,
you can only
you're not going to get.
There's only so many 1 seeds, so if you're avoiding the SEC teams, that means you're either in Duke or Houston's bracket. If
Maybe
you're
that's less of an issue for the 2 seeds, because what am I saying? If you're a 1 seed, if you become a 1 seed, then you're going to avoid the 2 seeds in the SEC. All the SEC teams are going to avoid each other. But there's only 4 regions to put all these SEC teams in.
That's the thing.
Yeah, so at some point they're going to have to.
Someone's going to play someone.
Yeah, I don't know. Bad thought by me. Bad thought by me. I was just fleshing it out because, like, I think I guess I'll put it this way. I think a 1 seed might be very important because there's a chance, and there might be a good chance, that if you're a 2 seed in the SEC, you're going to be thrown in Duke's region. So maybe that's why you want the 1 seed. Because if you're a 1 seed, if you're the last SEC 1 seed, not only do you avoid the possibility of being thrown in with Duke, to have to play Duke in the Elite Eight, but you now get to avoid all the other SEC teams, all the other elite SEC teams.
Right.
You're not going to be able to avoid all of them. But now you're probably not going to have to play. If Tennessee gets the 1, they're probably not going to have Bama or Florida in their bracket. You know what I mean?
So being a 1 seed is actually huge.
I think so.
I think we just worked into that.
I think being the last 1 seed is actually massive. Is that right?
100%.
Did I just get that right? Because otherwise
you're
going to
avoid those
like
top
having
SEC teams as the 2.
Yeah.
And you also can't be with Duke because you're in a different region.
I don't think Duke and Auburn are unbeatable. Don't get me wrong. No part of me is like you might as well just pack it in if you're in their bracket. But yeah, I think that if you're a 2 seed, you're sweating bullets on Selection Sunday. Like, just please keep us away from Auburn.
And your point is correct. If you're in SEC 2, you're not with Auburn. You're not with. So you are
There's
with
Duke. There's a chance you might be with Duke. Yeah.
So that
everybody thinks that they work off of a snake draft.
Yeah. It's like
everybody
1, 2, 3,
thinks
4,
that like
5, 6, 7, 8.
And they don't do that. They work off of like a regional. They work off of location and conferences. That drives more, and then the snake draft does factor into it. But there's more factors at play than just that. So like just because you're automatically the second best, or the top 2 seed, I should say, just because you're the number 1 2 seed, that doesn't necessarily mean that you get to avoid. That doesn't mean you play the worst.
And
you know what I mean?
That's going to be what's in play here because that 5th team overall is probably going to be an SEC team. They're not just going to turn around and be in Florida, Tennessee.
Like, I'm looking right now at Bracket Matrix. I'll use Bracket Matrix as Bracket Matrix has Alabama as a 1 and Tennessee as a 2. So it's Auburn, Duke, Houston, Alabama are the 1s. Tennessee, Florida, Michigan State, Wisconsin are the 2s. I'm sure it'll update today. I'm sure this will change, but just using that as an example. Florida and Tennessee will be thrown into Duke and Houston's region. So Tennessee, even though Duke is the second best, or will probably be the number 2 overall seed. Tennessee will be the number 1 2 seed. There's a chance that they throw Tennessee. Now they'll probably, in this example, Florida is below Tennessee. They would probably throw Florida in with Duke, and then Tennessee gets to be in Houston's. But my point is like that. I think Duke, and maybe we could talk about Duke in a little bit, but I think Duke is just as good, if not better, than Auburn, and you should have the attitude of like listen. At a certain point, if you want to win the national championship, you're gonna have to play good teams. But as the bracket shakes out, like I think on Selection Sunday, if you're a team with national title aspirations and you have Duke or Auburn in your bracket, that fucking sucks.
I just want to reiterate this one more time because you were absolutely right. If you follow this, that means that Tennessee goes to Houston, Florida gets stuck with Duke. Who's the real winner in this? Alabama was the 4th number 1 seed, and they're already getting Michigan State.
They'll get Michigan State, 2. Yeah. They'll get Michigan State as the 2.
That 4th number 1 or that 4th 1 seed,
right,
gets to drop to a 7 or 8 overall seed because they're in the SEC.
Yeah.
So that means that Alabama, Tennessee, and Florida have so much to play for in the SEC tournament.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, the last 1 seed. I guess that's our conclusion we've drawn. That they actually,
that's called
the last
showing
1
your
seed,
work.
Yeah, the last 1 seed actually might matter a great deal, even though it felt like, that was good. That was good work by us. It felt like there for a second I was going to talk myself into maybe it doesn't matter, but it does.
It matters a lot.
It might matter a lot, or maybe it doesn't. I don't know.
Let's go back over it.
Quick break to talk about Experian. Madness in March is good. Madness in credit is bad. To take control of your credit and finances, make sure you pick the Experian app. Experian could be your financial Cinderella with tons of free tools at your fingertips to help you take control of your financial life. The amount of free tools you get with Experian could fill a bracket with things like your free FICO score. You could boost your FICO score instantly free with the Experian Boost. You get free access to a marketplace of credit card, loan, and auto insurance options, all matched to you. You can even freeze your credit file for free, helping protect you against identity theft. Make sure you're ready for your one shiny moment with the Experian. Go to the App Store and download the free Experian app now. Go to the App Store, download free Experian app. Do it right now. Speaking of the SEC, Auburn big win at Kentucky. I think Kentucky's toast. I think Jackson Robinson's out for the year. They're just snake bit, man. They can't guard. They weren't a perfect team to begin with. They had obvious flaws. They can't guard. They're relying on 3-point shooting a little too much. They were more a fun team than a good team, I would say, for most of the season. But there were times where they looked really good. I mean, after they beat Duke in the Champions Classic, was that Champions Classic? That was. Mm-hmm. That was, and then Duke played Kansas later and something else, right? Duke played Kentucky in the Champions Classic. After they beat Duke in the Champions Classic, I got really excited about the idea of Kentucky being, Final Four good. And I think throughout the season they showed it in spurts. They showed, there was the game against Florida that was a ton of fun, even though they lost. It was like 106-100 or something in Lexington, or they beat Florida. Why am I second guessing myself, dude? Why am I doing this, Cody? They beat Florida. Why did I say they lost? It was 106-100. They beat Florida. That's right. That was Florida's first loss. So they had like games like that. They have had moments where shots are falling and they demonstrate how deep their roster is, and they're playing all sorts of guys and all sorts of combinations, and you never know who their best player is going to be. Now, Otega Oweh, by the end of the season, by the time we got here, like, he has emerged as pretty obviously their best player, but there were stretches where you're like, man, they have like 3 or 4 best players. This is crazy. But in the end, I now that March has gotten here, I think Kentucky is I think if Kentucky makes the Sweet 16 and loses by 15, I think Kentucky fans have to be happy with that at this point in the year.
I'm interested to hear from a Kentucky fan on that, because I'm with you. They're beaten up, they're injured, they're not playing as good at basketball, but they're also doing it. We say this every show, against the SEC, night in and night out, and night in and night out. They're gonna they should absolutely get to a Sweet 16, and then who are they gonna match up with? I don't know. But yeah, Mark Pope's had a great first year, but I think they have higher expectations.
I don't think they can guard. I think they can't. They can't play defense, and there's too many question marks, game to game, with like who's going to step up and yeah. I like I said, I think they're a more fun team than they are a good team. Mm-hmm. I forgot about the Gonzaga. I'm looking at their schedule right now. I forgot about the Gonzaga win. They beat Gonzaga, Duke, and Florida. Early in the season.
And I believe the high-scoring game you're talking about, they lost like 100 and something to 97 against Alabama,
Bama, right? Yeah.
But they lost, but it's like, all right, but they put
this
up
is a really fun team, yeah. I'm done with them as like a Final Four caliber. Like, I don't think they're making the Final Four.
So was this win for Auburn not as impressive as it might seem from the outside? Like, they went into Rupp Arena. Janai Broome probably played his worst statistic performance of the year, and they just kicked the shit out of a team that has some pretty big wins.
What do you mean? Is this not impressive?
No, your takeaway from this is like you're kind of out on Kentucky in the long haul. My take was Auburn's just the best team.
Oh yeah, but I mean this is what Auburn's been doing. So like there's nothing to be learned there. Like, I mean, Miles Kelly was fucking odd. Like, yeah, this was. I went into that game knowing Auburn was really, really good, and I left the game saying, yeah, Auburn's really, really fucking good.
Baker Mazzar going for 20, Kelly going for 30, Pettiford went for 20. That's with their best player not playing well.
Miles Kelly was a flamethrower, Drew. That was crazy. But again, I didn't watch I didn't watch the last like third of the game. Mm-hmm. Nobody did. That was crazy. Have you ever seen anything like that?
No.
And that was like crazy.
A huge game.
They cut in, then they go, we're going to throw it over to the game happening on a different channel, which was Texas Tech, Kansas. We'll just throw you over to that as we work on this. And then they like went to commercial. And when they came back, Steve Levy was like, big hockey matchup coming up today. And I was like, what happened to the college basketball? But I guess we're going to get a hockey pre-show and they just never addressed it. They never, at no point were they like, I know a lot of you are tuning in for Kentucky, Auburn, But, we were having technical – they kind of just said it at the moment, like, hey, we're having technical difficulties as the second – when it cut off at first. Never really addressed it after that.
They pretended like the hockey was like the plan the whole time.
Yeah. I enjoyed the hockey, by the way. I did watch the Blue Jackets game. That was fun.
Our Jackets are rolling.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. But, yeah, you're watching a team in Rupp Arena clinching the SEC championship, and there's just nobody watching it. And I'm like, following along on, like, Twitter. I'm, like, refreshing. Like, I'm Googling shit. Like, somebody – Jedi Broom got hurt in this game, by the way. Did you know that?
I didn't know that.
Jedi Broom apparently got hurt, left the game. I don't know if he came back. I have no idea. These are things I don't know. I don't think anybody knows.
That's
Everybody
insane.
is just like, what the fuck's going on? Then Jackson Robinson, they announced was out for the year. He didn't play, obviously, but it was just yeah. I felt like I was living in like the 40s or 50s again. Not again. I never did live in the 40s
I was going to
50s,
say,
but,
first time.
I felt like I was living back in the day where you're just kind of like waiting for the newspaper the next morning to read about what happened. Crazy. Yeah.
It's interesting. Kentucky right now would be your 8th seed if the SEC tournament started today.
8th seed in the SEC
meaning
tournament.
that would be Auburn's opening game as well.
Oh, so they would get the rematch of that. Oh, by the way, we didn't talk about Tennessee, Bama, Dickie V, and Jimmy Dykes and Carl Ravitch on the call.
Thoughts?
I needed more. I wanted to address that. Carl Ravitch, I like. He's a good broadcaster.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing against Carl Ravitch. Love the work he does in the Little League World Series, especially. Carl Ravitch is not a big time college basketball announcer, and I think he'd tell you as much. His heart is in baseball. He shouldn't be. We have number 6 versus number 5 in a game that could determine a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. That comes down to a buzzer beater launch of a 3. And hearing Carl Ravitch and Jimmy Dykes is like, I go back and forth on Jimmy Dykes. Like, I try not to – announcing games is very, very difficult. As a guy who's done one game, I can attest to how hard it is to actually – have interesting commentary and not be annoying and come across as a guy who knows what he's talking about, but you don't want to come across as like a blowhard who's, condescending to your audience, which is why I'm one of the few guys that does like Jay Billis, but Billis will do that sometimes where he's like, this right here is called a ball screen. And you're like, Jay, come on, dude. What are we doing?
That happens in March every year where it's a ghost screen.
A ghost screen.
You learn about the ghost screen.
Freeze it right there. All right. Now what we have here, Jay Billis loves I like pointing out that Jay Billis likes pointing out horns. Anytime anybody sets ball screens at the elbows, Jay Billis is like, freeze it right there. We got a horn set right here. It's like, Jay, we know what a horn set is, man. But thanks. Thanks anyway. Anyway, it's a really difficult job, so I try not to shit on guys too much. But Jimmy Dykes is I'll leave it at that.
Wow.
I'll leave it at just an exhale. Jimmy Dykes is, and then Dickie V is. I love Dickie V as well, but his voice is just not there. He's a little hoarse. He's
85 years old.
He's 85 years old, and it shows.
Titus,
and
he
it does.
Born in the 30s.
And
he was born in the 30s.
I want to be careful because I think Dickie V's legacy is secure for me. Like, no matter how many times Dickie V is going to call college basketball games and quote unquote not have it. And it doesn't feel like I felt like a Tennessee game. First of all 3 of them sounded like they were underwater. Secondly, Dickie V is like hoarse and he's just rambling about God knows what, like Dickie V does. And in a 3-man booth, I don't know if that plays as well as it does in a 2-man. So if Dickie V does this every single game, I'm still going to look back on Dickie V and be like, he's obviously a legend and one of the greats the game has ever seen. But yeah, it's I think we need to do better and by we I mean ESPN. We need to do better at picking Dickie V spots. I think we need to do better.
What's a Dickie V spot? Like, do you want him Carolina Duke end of the year? Is that a Dickie V spot?
Honestly, this year maybe, yeah. That might be a perfect Dickie V spot. It's like still a kind of a game that matters, but it's like
an 11-point spread.
Yeah, it's an 11-point spread, and Duke might just blow them out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I tried to make this point, and I wasn't very articulate when I did it a couple weeks ago about the SEC, where it's almost too good of a league to where it's this demonstrated what I was talking about, that when you have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 games every single week that are quote unquote games of the week, that feel like games of the week, that feel like you have number 6 versus number 5. This is a massive, massive game, but the problem is you also have number 1 Auburn playing at Kentucky where they haven't won in 30 years or whatever the hell the stat was. They just never win in Rupp Arena. Now they're going to Rupp Arena to win SEC. When all these games are going on at once, you end up with a situation where Carl Ravitch and Jimmy Dykes and Dick Vitale are calling a 6-versus-5 game at once because there's too many other big games going on. You send Schulman and Billis to Rupp Arena. Now you're stuck with these guys here, and I don't know. I don't want to attack him too much, but that was I needed more for as the calendars turn to March, and then on Sunday you're watching the Big Ten games, and CBS is bringing the juice, man. And Michigan State and Wisconsin was fucking awesome, and then Illinois, Michigan, the game wasn't particularly great, but it just felt like it feels like March when it feels like a big game as they're bringing it in. I don't know. That's my note on that was my note on the broadcast. Of Tennessee, Alabama. I wanted more out of those guys.
I don't know what the solution is though, because you said like even so Tuesday we have another top 10 matchup in Auburn playing Texas A&M. It's just every single night. It feels like you got to. I guess Billis and Schulman just got to go to every single game because all these games are on ESPN. You got to send them to every single game. I guess they just got to call every single SEC game. Wednesday night, Florida, Bama, 3-6 in the country. By
the way, I realized when Dick Vitale was rambling about Ohio State football during a Tennessee Alabama game in March with a 1 seed on the line, it dawned on me that Dick Vitale invented the sports podcast. He just did it like 30 years before anyone else
doing it on.
Did it. Yeah. He was just doing it live on air. Dick Vitale invented doing podcast. He just
talk
do it
about
during
whatever
the game.
You want.
Yeah, just ramble about God knows what. All right, SEC. Vanderbilt. Big win over Missouri. Vandy's in the tournament. I think Vandy's been an incredible story. Year one for Mark Byington. They've been a lot of fun, especially the home games. It feels like, what is this, their third, fourth upset, fourth big moment? Like, did they even storm the court at this point? If you're a Vandy student, are you even storming the court anymore?
They beat Kentucky at home. They beat Tennessee at home. They went with the back-to-back court storms there.
Did they storm? I didn't even see. They beat. They got the big win over A&M.
I hope not.
On Wednesday, and then Saturday they beat Missouri.
They did storm, but no fine.
Yeah, they've been the SEC's been a little more lax on things because they let them wait 2 minutes or 3 minutes.
That's what
something?
they did. They stormed the court, but because they waited 2 minutes, they started a timer.
Yeah.
Then they stormed, no fine.
So this is the third storming of the court for Vanderbilt. That's incredible. I wonder what the record is for one season. That's 3 for Vanderbilt this year. That's awesome.
And
they're all kind of deserved, honestly.
Fuck it. They have Arkansas at home on Tuesday. Storm that shit.
I'm fine with all of them, by the way. Arkansas is doing the Buckeyes a favor.
Yeah.
That was a beatdown from South Carolina. The Mark Titus Show is brought to you by JackPocket. Order lottery tickets right from your phone with JackPocket, America's #1 lottery app. JackPocket has so many lottery games to choose from. They have Powerball, Mega Millions, and all other official state lottery games. Best of all, new customers get your first lottery ticket free using code Titus, Titus, at checkout. Download JackPocket now, and don't forget to use code Titus, Titus. JackPocket, America's #1 lottery app, and official partner of Barstool Sports. Big 12 stuff real quickly, and then we'll talk Big 10 and wrap this thing up. Iowa State might be back. Iowa State blew out Arizona. That was a game, by the way. I don't know if you realize this. If Iowa State lost, they would have lost 3 in a row for the second time this season. We would have had to cross them off. They would have been a tarred and feathered team.
Wow.
Big win over Arizona. Tyrese Halliburton and George Niang were there. I feel like Iowa State is a team that has fallen off a little bit. They've been dealing with injuries and all that. But as I'm watching that game, I'm like, are they back? Are they gonna kind of figure this shit out a little bit? It felt like it felt too as Otzelberger's name's being thrown around for the Indiana job and all. I wasn't actually concerned, but I started to wonder: is this going to not completely bottom out, but is Iowa State just going to slowly fade away from the public consciousness, the public college basketball consciousness? And then Otzelberger is going to start taking right before the NCAA tournament, he's taking phone calls with Indiana, and suddenly players are, their heart's not in it and all that. It was very encouraging to see that performance against Arizona because Arizona's been playing pretty well, and Arizona was I think technically at that point Arizona was still in the running for the Big 12 championship. And Iowa State was lights out, man. They played great, and I'm talking myself back into Iowa State.
I was gonna say
they guard. They have multiple scorers. Getting Momcilovic back is huge for them. He's been great, and for a while there, it was touch and go as to how good they could really be. But Iowa State, let's not forget,
there was a time in mid-January where they had one loss on the season. It was by 2 points on a neutral court to Auburn.
Mm-hmm.
And they had wins over Kansas, and they had wins over, their non-conference they played Big Ten teams. And they were 14-1 or something. Now it's fallen off, but they were in your national championship hunt for a long time in mid-January.
I'm not fully sure what happened to Curtis Jones. I don't really know. But it's probably just water finding his level.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably what it is. They're just scouting.
You were high on him, yeah.
Yeah, I was very, very high on him. He was fucking awesome. But he had to stretch there. He scored 30. I remember he scored like almost 40 against Arizona State. But then there were like 2 or 3 games in a row. When was that? That was like late January maybe. He was on a tear. But the fact that he's back on the bench and they're pulling him off the bench and all that is such a luxury. And I think Iowa State is a team that it would not surprise me if they start putting it back together again. So there's that. Meanwhile, Texas Tech, you want to talk about Big 12 teams that have kind of flown under the radar. Texas Tech beats Kansas in Allen Fieldhouse. Texas, I haven't spent a lot of time talking about Texas Tech this year, and that's probably my mistake. They can score the fucking ball.
They're really good.
They got JT Toppin surrounded by shooters, and they can. They are going to surprise, confuse, maybe both a lot of people with how they play. Where I think a lot of people see Texas Tech jerseys and they just picture like grinded out type basketball games, and this team is not that, man. This team can score, and they have dudes that can create their own. And JT Toppin is one of the best players in the country, and I'm really high on Texas Tech, even though I haven't really shown it much this year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Right now, Bracket Matrix has them at like the 4 line, which would be, with an offense like that, I don't know, you could match up with there's some 1 seeds that are known for their great defenses that might give them some fits with a Houston, a Tennessee, whatever it may be. That'll be interesting.
What else? Oh, the Kansas part of this. Kansas has now lost 10 games. They are trending to be a outside of the top 4. How do I say this? Since 2000, Kansas has been a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament every single year, which is fucking insane when you say it out loud like that. Since the 2000 tournament, they've been a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament every year. Not only have they made every tournament, they've been the worst seed they've gotten in the tournament is a 4 seed. And they're probably almost certainly not going to be a top 4 seed this year. And you told me right before the show started that Bill Self, I'm not on Twitter as much as I used to be. I miss this. That Bill Self and the Kansas basketball program is now issuing statements, given that the season is spiraling so badly that they have to address the fans. And mind you, a horrendous season for Kansas is just like, we're going to be a 6 seed, maybe. Right. We're going to be a 6 seed, so now we got to issue statements. But what was the statement he put out?
I mean, the statement was a statement from Bill Self following the game, and it was on Twitter, like an actual graphic. Like it would be someone like making a statement, like, thank you to the fans. We competed. We tried. We came up short. Texas Tech made more plays than we did. We can do a lot of things better, but I'll roll with these guys every day, and I'm proud of it. Any criticism about this team should be directed towards me.
Oh, no.
I'm looking forward to see how we bounce back against a terrific Houston team on Monday. Then after that game, I'll look forward to see how we respond to a terrific Arizona team on Saturday. I don't understand what, like...
So the statement was like, we suck, and I'm sorry, but I'm aware of it, and we're hoping to fix it. That's kind of the point of the statement.
Yeah, like, hey, we know that we're – so they're 10-8 in the conference right now, and their remaining 2 games at Houston, very much a loss, which is tonight, and then Saturday they have Arizona. They're going to finish – they could legitimately finish 10-10 in the Big 10 or in the Big 12.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That is actually crazy.
That's bad.
That is actually fucking crazy that Kansas has fallen off to this extent. I gotta say though, I still think Bill Self will figure it out, and not this year, but I don't think Bill Self is done. I don't think he's washed. I think a lot of Big 12 fans are going to enjoy dancing on his grave, and I just say, be careful with that. Although I mean, at the same time, enjoy it. I guess that's the point of rivalry, is when your rivals are down, you have to laugh at them, point and laugh at them, enjoy their misery, but. I would be careful with expecting this being the new norm moving forward. I wouldn't expect Kansas to go 10-10 in the Big 12 every single year. You know,
they still have the number 2 player in the entire country coming in next year too. Like they're still gonna get dudes.
He won a national championship 3 years ago, and also more importantly than bringing in the number 2 player in the country, they're losing Hunter Dickinson next year. And they're losing KJ Adams and DeJuan Harris. They're losing all those guys. They're doing a reset on everything, and he won a national championship 3 years ago.
Yeah, but that just shows like the standards throughout the sports are so different. Like they are 10-8. They're going to be a 6 seed to the point where he's releasing statements after the game.
Meanwhile, Louisville is going to be a 6 seed probably, and Louisville fans are like, this is the most fun I've had watching basketball in how many years now? This is fucking awesome. Yeah, it is interesting. And Louisville is a very, very proud program with a lot of great history, obviously. I'm proud to announce that this show is brought to you by Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. We love Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. You do too. Everybody watching, everybody listening knows how much you love a Reese's Peanut Butter Cup, but it might have been a while since the last time you had one. Let's fix that right now. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are the perfect combo of chocolate and peanut butter. You can buy Reese's Cups basically anywhere. Reese's Cups are the perfect complement for the chaos of March, a drool-worthy combination of chocolate and peanut butter to go wild for with its mouth-watering combination of chocolate and peanut butter. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups are a winning part of the game day experience. Eat Reese's Peanut Butter Cups. Feed your fandom. Do it all March. It's certainly what I'm going to be doing, and I suggest it's what you do as well. Big Ten basketball. Michigan State, Wisconsin was the game of the weekend. Michigan State, the guards get a lot of the attention. Obviously, Jace Richardson has emerged as a superstar. Jaden Akins was great in this game, especially in the first half, hitting threes. They are a team that we've said ad nauseum is struggles shooting the ball, but at the same time, if they can just get one guy to knock down shots, it changes everything and unlocks a lot for them. Jaden Akins was that guy in the first half. He was very hot to the point that he was like taking heat check shots, which is a rarity for Michigan State guys to get so hot that they're just like, yeah, I'm fucking pulling it. Why not? And he had the one. I think he hit 2 in a row, and then he went for his third, missed it, got the rebound, and then hit an elbow jumper right away. So, yeah, the guards get a lot of the attention, and Cohen Carr flying in for oops, and you know, they push the tempo, and Trey Holloman's hitting half-court shots, and those are the guys that get the headlines. I thought Michigan State's bigs were the difference in the game. I thought the defense they played, first of all, going back to the Maryland game, the way they guarded Maryland's front court was awesome. But then I thought in this Michigan State Wisconsin game, their defense is as good as it always is, but the Michigan State bigs on the pick and rolls and the dribble handoffs and all of that was a masterclass. And a lot of that you could say is the guards. You know, the guards are putting pressure on the defense, having to make decisions as the ball screens are happening, and then you know the guards are delivering the passes to the bigs in the right manner. But they were dicing up Wisconsin. It was crazy. It was crazy how well I thought the Michigan State big guys, like basically every guy that saw the floor was awesome. And Xavier Booker, by the way, shout out to him, has turned into a reliable three-point shooter. I don't know how this happened, why this happened, but Xavier Booker for a long time, he's a sophomore now, was Michigan State fans don't need this explained to them, but Xavier Booker was a 5-star recruit as a freshman last year, out of Indianapolis, out of Cathedral, was a guy I had my eye on because I follow all the Indy kids, and I get excited about all of them. Was a huge disappointment because he would just like he's got all the length and the physical tools, and you're like, you know, squinting and maybe you're seeing Jaren Jackson Jr. out there, you know, and you're a left-handed Jaren Jackson, and you're like, this guy could be a shot blocker, he could be a dominant force in the post, and all he wants to do is float around and shoot threes, and it looks like he's like cares less about winning these basketball games and more about like putting on tape skills for an NBA scout, you know, and that was like a frustration I had with him all of last year. And then this year the season starts and he's doing a lot of the same, and I'm like, God damn it, Xavier Booker, what are you doing? He's been hitting threes though, man. He's been playing well for them, I think, and I think every big guy that sees the floor for Michigan State is bringing something to the table, and that's not been the reason why. I think the story with this Michigan State team is that there is no one reason why, and that's what makes it so fun and what makes it so unexpected. And by the way, I want to say this. They pointed out on the broadcast, Tom Izzo himself said that this team is not one of his, like, this is a bottom 5 talent team that he's ever had. And that was my point all along about
You've always said
any part of me that was out on Michigan State was the only reason I was out on them.
You're
and
just
Tom
saying
Izzo,
what Izzo said.
I'm saying what Izzo's saying. But anyway, that's the part of them that's a fun story and a fun surprise in college basketball, because again, as Tom Izzo himself said, This is one of the least talented teams he's ever had, but they are in maybe they are in contention for a 1 seed. I don't fucking know at this point. What's made them so fun and so good, I don't think there's one thing you can point to. I don't think it is just Jace Richardson's emergence. I don't think it is just, that the big guys are playing well. I don't think it is just team defense or the rebounding or anything. I think it's all of it. I think all of it matters. You stir it all into a big pot, and in the end, you have a team that's probably going to win the regular season Big Ten championship.
Yeah, I mean, Kohler, I think if you were to pinpoint one thing that it is, obviously Jace Richardson has gotten better throughout the year. He is a star. He's great. The way their team defends with physicality and attacks the glass on both offense, and Jackson Kohler had 16 rebounds. He had 7 offensive rebounds. And listen, you have been saying all year that this isn't the most talented team they've had. I also was a hater. I remember they lost to Indiana at home, and I said, all right, look at what they have coming up. Mm-hmm. They have rattled off at Illinois, Purdue, at Michigan, at Maryland, Wisconsin.
5 straight quad 1 wins. Only team to do it this year to get 5 straight quad 1, which a lot of that is, the schedule worked out that way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure Auburn or Duke would have if they had 5 straight opportunities. But
point being, I will admit I was wrong, but Titus, I have a legitimate question to ask you.
Yeah.
Do you believe in them? Because they are now officially a 2 seed. You can make an argument that if they beat Michigan and Iowa and they have Big Ten, they might be a 1 seed. But
do I believe in them in national title?
They can make a Final Four?
They can make a Final Four, yeah. I believe in them as a Final Four team now. I believe it'd be stupid. I'm not going to dig my heels in and say they can't make a Final Four. They can. Like, of course, the shooting does bother me, but I'll say this about them. They can't shoot threes like as a percentage wise. They have capable guys, and I think that's been one of the. I made that point not too long ago about Jace Richardson. I think like the value of him beyond just the stuff in the box score, like beyond just like he exploded for 20 whatever points or whatever it might be. It's just like the feel of the game changes when he's feeling it a little bit. When he's drawing double teams and he's creating step back 3-point, like he had an and one on a 3 where he had like a step back and then got fouled on it, and I think he missed the free throw, and in the end there was only one made 3-point shot. I think he only had like 11 points in this game.
He did.
But when you have guys that can make a play like that, it's worth more than just the 3 points. It's worth the defense than like I said that before. Like that shit like that happens. The other team looks at their bench and they're like, "Coach, you said they can't shoot. What the fuck was that?
Mm-hmm.
You said like you said back off of them and make them, and they're not going to be able to. You said that their guards don't have a lot of creativity. What this guy's out here fucking
step backs.
He said step backs and shaking us like crazy. Like what the fuck? And it gets the defense on their heels a little bit and reeling and second guessing, which is why I think a lot of the pick and roll game opened up for Michigan State in this game. But I think for all the conversations about how bad Michigan State's shooting is from a percentage standpoint, they are elite at guarding threes. Like this is something that feels like it might be a luck thing if it's over the course of a few games, but this is over the whole season. I've seen this over and over and over and over and over again where Michigan State, yeah, they're bricking a lot of threes, but guess what's happening on the other end is the other team is also bricking a lot of threes.
The difference in their their 3-point shooting percentage is 347th in the country. That's horrible. Like that's why I don't believe in them to make a long run. Their 3-point percentage on defense, 28%, 4th best in the country.
4th best in the country.
347 and 4.
Yeah. Every game they play, nobody's hitting threes. So it's like, yeah, we're worried about Michigan State shooting, but if the other team can't shoot, then it's all a wash, right? And then it comes down to then we just eliminate 3-point shooting. And what's it going to come down to? It's going to come down to rebounding.
Advantage Michigan State. Coaching.
Yeah. It's going to come down to free throws, which they are great at shooting free throws, which is shocking.
They're 8th in the country in free throws.
How can you
which
be
is
so
insane because they're terrible at threes.
But yeah, Wisconsin, a team that shoots a lot of threes, makes a lot of threes, and has done so all season, was 5 for 32 against Michigan State. And as much as if that was the one time you watch Michigan State, you'd say that's an anomaly. That's not going to happen every game. I would agree with you, except for it kind of has happened. It seems to happen over and over and over again with them. So yeah, kudos to Michigan State, big win, 5 straight quad 1 wins. And yeah, with Michigan losing to Illinois and in the fashion they did, it stands to reason that Michigan State will in fact win the outright Big Ten championship.
They go to Iowa Tuesday night to win it.
Beat Iowa, you win a share. Win them both, obviously you win it outright. Or if you beat Iowa and Michigan has to play Maryland, I think, at home. Michigan still has Maryland at home and then at Michigan State as their last two.
That's last two.
Which Michigan's not a fraud, but we kind of knew this was coming.
They
with
fooled
Michigan.
me a little bit.
They kind of like they've been playing with fire for a while. And I don't think this is a case, by the way. I'm not going to swing the other way and be like, aha, everybody's now figured out Michigan and Michigan's fucked and they're just going to lose every game from here on out. But Michigan was not as good as their record indicated is all I would say about them. They're a lot closer to being as good as Ohio State than they are to being as good as like the Auburns and Dukes of the world. And for a second there, they were being treated as like the Auburns and Dukes of the world. And that was just a false premise from the start. Now, kudos to them for grinding out these wins, but they get in a lot of close games and they find ways to win them. But at the same time, I think even the most delusional Michigan fan will acknowledge that they were lucky in a handful of these.
Some of these stats
and it's hard to
out.
sustain that forever. So like on the one hand, I'm like, yeah, this is finally we get demonstration that Michigan is I don't want to say a fraud, but like in terms of like being an elite team, yeah, they were fraudulent. If anyone was talking about them being like a Final Four national championship type team, I think that was kind of crazy. And now Illinois has shown us why. But I also don't want to flip too far the other way and say that now Michigan is done and this is who they're going to be moving forward. Is they're just going to lose by 20 every single game they play? Because I still think they are good. I still think that Golden and Danny Wolf are a matchup nightmare, both of them. And I still think that like even though you can kind of scout them and figure out what they're about, you still have to have the dudes to guard those guys, and that's going to be difficult. And hey, beyond everything else, like I think they're comfortable in close games, and I think like when the tournament gets here, like if Michigan is in a 4-point game with 5 minutes left, they're gonna be like, hey, this is what we do. Yeah, so I'm not panicking too much with Michigan, but it did feel for those of us that have watched Michigan and been like, when are they gonna finally like when are they gonna get unlucky? When is the other shoe gonna drop here? That felt good to know that we were right all along, I guess. At some point, Michigan is going to be exposed as like not being quite as good as their record.
They had won something like 9 straight games by a score of 4 points or less. And then they had the one where they lost by 27. So their aggregate scoring was actually, they were like 9-1, but they had a minus point differential.
Yeah. I think they're 9-3 in their last 12, and it's minus 33 point differential is what it is in those 12 games.
And Michigan to me is like the perfect. When we do this on Selection Sunday and we start talking about picking brackets, whatever, I am going to close my eyes and revert back to what it felt like just before conference play started. Because Michigan, yeah, they've made their hay beating the Penn States, the Rutgers, the Oregons, the Indianas of the world by like 2 to 5 points.
Right.
Don't forget that when this non-conference was going around, they lost to Arkansas, they lost to Oklahoma, and they lost to Wake Forest. 3 teams that we talk about as having like disappointing, like gonna miss the tournament, outside the bubble now seasons.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side, we're like, but this Michigan team is great.
Yeah.
It's who you're playing in the conference.
Yeah, they're beating. That's exactly right. I mean, you look at they did beat Purdue at home. That's probably but they're avoiding. They're either avoiding or losing to all the good teams in the Big Ten, and then also losing to Minnesota, and also losing, like you said, like the difficult. They did win at Wisconsin. I forgot about that. They won at Wisconsin in December. That's the one.
Their first game of the year.
One, yeah. That's the one that they hang their hat on, and yeah, Michigan's not. They're not bad. It's just I think even the Michigan fans, the handful that I know, would kind of agree with like what everyone else was saying. They're like, yeah, I don't know how we're doing this. I don't know how we're winning these games, and.
But they will see when you play them in the tournament, it will be the team's first time seeing 2 7-footers and one that can handle the ball like that and whatever.
Yeah.
So they're a matchup nightmare. But yeah, they're just not a great team. Like, I don't know how we really decided that they were for a little bit because they hadn't really done too much.
Yeah. Yeah, they hadn't. They just won though. In a landscape where teams aren't going on long win streaks, they were doing that. So at a certain point, you're like, I don't know how you're doing this, but you are doing it. So tip of the cap. I guess I got to acknowledge that you must be a good team if you're actually winning these games. The Illinois side of things, Illinois is an extremely frustrating team. So much talent out there. They have had injuries. They have had mono or whatever the hell Brad Underwood said they had at Wisconsin. They were all kissing each other in the locker room.
That's what it was.
They're all smooching.
That's what Underwood said.
They had the kissing disease. They've had sickness and injuries and all sorts of stuff. But really, the frustration has been that they are 2 to 3 inches taller than everybody at every position, seemingly. And they shoot a fuck ton of threes, which makes sense. It's 2025. The word is out that three-point shooting is important, that three is worth more than two. We should all be shooting threes in 2025 if you have serious aspirations of winning shit in college basketball. So, yeah, Illinois jacking up threes wasn't exactly a surprise, except for the fact that they have size advantage everywhere, and they can't shoot. That's been their story all season. Here's your Ken Palm stat of the day. They are 30th in the country in three-point field goals per field goal attempt, which is to say, like, what's your ratio of shots, your three-point, what's your three-point appetite? They're 30th. They're number 30 in a Division I with 364 teams, I think. Illinois is 30th. They're among the top of, we're going to just fucking let threes fly. They are 319th in three-point shooting percentage. That's been their story all season. And the game at Oregon where they were hitting everything and they blew out Oregon and Eugene, blew them the fuck out, was kind of fool's gold. And I think, like, Illinois, like, double and tripled down on, like, this is who we should be. We should just keep jacking threes. And at their worst, they have been a team that has, like, 7-footers bombing threes and missing them over and over and over again, and they're losing to Duke by 40 points. And it's I understand the context of the health issues and all that, but Illinois has been extremely, extremely frustrated. But at long last, on this day against Michigan, they were hitting threes, and it was all coming together. And I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, because I don't know if
bad.
this is I don't
bad.
know.
Titus, if you
I don't know if this is good or bad, because I think the next Illinois game they're going to shoot like 45 threes.
Yeah, it's like if you had like a line graph, and it's like, all right, shots and then makes, they would be all the way down here. They shoot so many threes, and they just can't shoot. It's the money ball scene all over again. And what's the one problem? They can't make them. Like, then what are we doing here? No, I don't. So you're, because I will say Illinois Twitter and some college basketball fans are out there saying that they're starting to get healthy at the right time. And this was the team, the Mark Titus is the world, all the way up until like end of January, where they really bottomed out. We're saying this is the most talented team in the Big Ten if they can just put it all together. Titus, are they putting it together because they hit a bunch of shots?
I'm not there yet. You lost by 43 to Duke not too long ago. Which, by the way, does Illinois beating Michigan, who was in first place in the Big Ten, beating Michigan by 20 points on their home court, like right after losing by 43 to Duke, does that do anything for the Duke part of all this? Remember, I mean, of course you remember. Duke beat the fuck out of Illinois, and everyone was like, yeah, Duke still hasn't played anybody.
110 to 67.
Illinois dog shit. And yeah, I don't think Illinois is elite, but goddamn, they beat them by 43.
I don't know what it does to the Duke side of things, but I can tell you this: we've talked about it all year. I've never seen this Player of the Year race go more like this.
Yeah.
It was earlier this week. It was officially Janai Broome is back. Janai Broome just had a huge game. Now Cooper Flagg's your favorite again as of this morning.
Yeah.
It can't be like that.
It can't be like that, but it is. And Cooper Flagg should win it. I don't know. It's becoming more and more obvious the more you watch these guys. Like Janai Broome's great, but Cooper Flagg is better at basically everything there is to do on a basketball court. He's just a better player. And yeah, you can look at the stats and say Janai Broome is better and has better stats here or there or whatever else. Auburn is also playing in the fastest conference in look at the pace of play. Don't look at me like that.
You're going to make the point that it helps Janai Broome that he's in the SEC.
Yes, I am. But when he has a million more possessions,
to win this.
When he has a million more possessions, are you serious?
You can look at that and be like, hey, he gets
look at
pace
the tempo
of play.
They're playing.
Yeah, do you know who else they're playing, Titus? They're playing. There could be 3 number 1 seeds from the SEC.
What does that have to do with anything?
They have tougher games. He wouldn't be in this conversation if they weren't 27-2.
He had a dog shit game, and the rest of the team around him was fucking awesome the other night.
Auburn's good.
The SEC helps him. He's in closer games and gets to play low. Cooper Flagg is spending the last 10 minutes of every game on the bench waving a towel for the walk-ons because they're up by fucking 40 points.
I'm not saying your point is extremely valid.
I'm saying watch the games. Don't just look at the stats. If you want to argue for Janai Broome, and you want to argue it from a point of like I watch the games and look how he impacts Auburn. I'll argue that because he's fucking awesome. Janai Broome's incredible. I'm saying if your argument is rooted in Janai Broome has these stats and Cooper Flagg has these stats, you're not paying attention to what's actually happening.
My argument, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying my argument is I am still saying that Auburn is having a head and shoulders better year than Duke as a team.
So we should have an award for the best team then.
It's the
we
same
should
thing.
figure
It's
out
the
a way
last time we raised our voices on.
We should come up with a way to figure out who the best team is. There should be a system for that.
I think Janai Broome is having a good enough year on a team that is so dominant. I'm not, and Cooper Flagg's a better basketball player, and that's what you're going to come down to and say, okay, that's all it should take. I'm saying quite a year from Auburn.
No, I told you, if Janai Broome wins, I'm not going to raise too much of a stink, but I think it's just like, so it's remarkably obvious that Cooper Flagg is a better player, and that's okay, and Auburn fans are going to get really mad about that, and I'm sure I'm going to be, I'm sure they're going to hate my fucking guts for saying that. Cooper Flagg is better than Janai Broome. That's just what it is. Now, Janai Broome has been absolutely incredible. Janai Broome is without question the second best player in the country. And Auburn is if you want to argue Auburn's better than Duke, even though Duke beat them, I'll allow that.
Well, that's a tough thing for me to argue when
I'll allow that. All of these are fair points. Auburn is having a historic season. They are ripping through the toughest conference maybe in the history of college basketball. All of these are true. I've seen it with my own two eyes how good this team is. Janai Broome is a huge reason why they're so good. Having said all that, Cooper Flagg is a better player, and Cooper Flagg is dominant and is better at basically everything there is to do on a basketball court than Janai Broome is.
Duke's last couple. So my point is Auburn now plays A&M.
But you're right. Like if Janai Broome has a monster game against Bama, it's going to be
flip
back
right
to him.
back.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he won it.
I don't know how to value this, Mark, because this is so since Duke lost to Clemson, their rest of their games, they beat Cal by 21, they beat Stanford by 40, they beat Virginia by 20, they beat Illinois by 40, they beat Miami, Florida by 40, and they beat Florida State by 40. And Duke now they're going to play Wake Forest, in which they're going to win by 40.
But how is winning by 40? Like Duke is almost. That's what I'm saying. Like they're almost too good. That like winning by 40
and
is
they're playing
detriment.
Teams that are not very.
If they were winning these games by like 15, that would almost serve them better because it would look like the ACC is competitive. But by beating the fuck out of it, they've won their last 5 games, which by the way was Illinois. Is not an ACC.
You're right.
They've won their last 5 games by an average of 34 points a game.
Yeah, I'm not even dying on that hill. I just don't know how to evaluate that.
Yeah.
No, I don't know how to evaluate the fact that they just
they're
beat
obviously very, 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 very good. If you have concerns about Duke that once the tournament comes and they're not used to playing like the top end teams in the way that Auburn, they're not going to be battle. If you want to make the battle tested argument, that's a fair argument, and I think that is a fair concern. But if you look at Duke and you say they're not actually good because they're not playing anybody, you're insane,
right.
Or you just hate Duke, which a lot of people do, and that's fine. But you're not. That's just not grounded in reality. Anyway, the player of the year race is a coin flip, and you're right. It just goes just flipping back and forth, like crazy. What else before we get out of here?
St. John's outright winners, white suit for Pitino.
White suit for Pitino. Do you think we're going to see that more? You think he's going to bust it out in the tournament? They make the Sweet 16, maybe for the Sweet 16 game. You don't want to go to that well too soon. I think he knew the moment was there. I think he wore the white suit because he knew this is the day it's happening. But if you bust out in the tournament, you don't want to use it in the second round.
Did he know? So here's my biggest question with it. I loved everything about it. Madison Square Garden going for the outright Big East title, but he also knew he was going up against Seton Hall, who's 2-15 in the Big East. Would he have broken that white suit? You know better than me. Would he have broken that suit out if he was playing against UConn? Or if he was playing against Marquette?
I think he would have. I think he knows that this team is better than everyone else in the Big East.
Okay.
I think he would have, yeah. But he knew. I mean, like it made it
because
easier decision for sure.
Lose
you can't lose in the white suit, yeah. But he definitely wore it because he's like, we're gonna win the Big East today.
It was it was the easiest decision of all time there.
Yeah.
Do you think he breaks it out?
I think he busts it out for maybe the Big East tournament championship if they make it.
Okay.
And then I think Sweet 16 would be okay. And there are a lot of people that would say it's premature. It'd be a premature move from Rick Pitino. Be a classic premature Rick Pitino move.
That's just Pitino.
That's just Pitino being Pitino. But I think Sweet 16 would be fine. I think that's
my question on that then would be, if you go Sweet 16, you have to you can't go white suit Sweet 16 and be like, now I'm back to the whatever.
You have to wear it every game.
I think so.
But does the magic run out? Is there only so much magic?
If he were to not wear it on the next game, he would be very much accused of, you only wear it when you think you're going to win.
Let's check in on Gottlieb before we get out of here. I got to run and do Mostly Sports. Which do you think the studio is going to be ready for Mostly Sports, Cody? It's fine.
Thumbs up.
All right, sweet. Let's check in on Gottlieb. my favorite segment on the show.
Oh, shout out Gottlieb. They won on Thursday.
Won on Thursday, beat Detroit Mercy by 5 at home, and then almost back-to-back wins. Overtime against Oakland. How about that?
And they have like 6 dudes on their team right now. Their whole bench is just in sweatsuits.
They get to play Oakland again on Tuesday. So Doug Gottlieb, the improbable run to a national championship for Doug Gottlieb starts tomorrow. How about that? Playing Oakland. At Oakland? It's at Oakland in the Horizon League tournament. Must win.
Must win.
Must win. All right, that's the show. We'll be back on Thursday. Hopefully, we figure out the problems that we had, the technical difficulties.
Home game on
obviously
Thursday.
The podcast listeners, you're like, I don't know, what the hell you're talking about. But those of you that are watching us, we'll be back in the regular studio on Thursday. We'll see you guys then.